Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome again, Marlene and Rosa. If you're watching this live stream, skip ahead a couple minutes. We have a couple minutes till we start. Only one more live session after this one, but don't worry, all classes are available on replay all weekend long. If you're just joining us, type in the chat where you're calling in from, or if you're here in the Zoom room, change your name like Miss Canada has done. Had lots of countries just in the Zoom room. I know the live stream is reaching lots more people. It's so good to see such a global community. Today we have Anouska Anderson with us. Anouska, where are you in the world?
I am on the Hertfordshire-London border.
Okay.
So back in the UK.
Anouska will be sharing warrior pose with us today. Welcome, Caroline. One more minute till we get started. All right. Okay. We are on the hour. Great. Welcome everyone to this session of the Embodied Yoga Principles Masterclass series. Today we are joined by Anouska Anderson, who is going to be teaching us warrior pose. I'm sure a lot of you know warrior pose. This session is for people who want to live with fierceness and people who want to kick ass. That was the subtitle of this session. So if you are here, you are looking for your inner warrior and where to bring it out into your life, and EYP is the perfect place to explore that. So again, welcome everyone here in the Zoom room. Welcome those on live stream. Welcome Facebook. And if you're here on the replay, thank you for being here. But if you're here in the Zoom room with us, we'd like to turn your camera on so Anouska has some good feedback. We are going to be an interactive class today, so you're welcome to join in even if you're out there on the live stream. And if you are on the live stream, we can see your comments and questions. So please keep those coming throughout this session. And we will ask Anouska some questions at the end or throughout as we go on tonight. So this session will be an hour long and we'll cover warrior pose for personal use, where you can use it in your life, and also where you can use it with your clients or your classes, or however you're thinking of using EYP in your work. So that being said, if you are here for EYP for personal use, or if you're here to use it in your profession, what are you here as? What are you looking to get out of this session? So type in the chat now. If you are here looking to use it in classes, or if you're here to use it in your coaching work, or if you know nothing about EYP and you're like, what is EYP? We're going to go into all of that today. And EYP, Embodied Yoga Principles, is the framework for getting our yoga off the mat and into our lives. Yeah, so it's for personal use and coaching practice. Yeah, yoga teaching, resilience, awesome. So if you have heard of our EYP training, we are running a special right now, and these masterclass recordings will actually be included in the EYP training that you are going to be getting now. So Steve's going to share the screen here. No sweat transformative yoga for effective coaching. All the different ways EYP has been used in different modalities. This training will allow you to take EYP into whatever coaching practice you have, whether you work one-on-one, whether you work with groups, there's different options. So the EYP system, see all these archetypal poses that represent ways of our being. You're going to learn what EYP is, who it's for, how you can use it to change your personal life, your own life, and the lives of your clients, those that you're working with. The body is the quickest and most effective way to get insight with people, especially if they're stuck. And so that's why we use EYP in our own personal practice as facilitators. But this EYP training is going to help you work with EYP with groups. And then this option here in the middle, EYP for coaches, is extra coaching demos, case studies, though seeing EYP being used with people one-on-one. It's lots of extra stuff that I think is really cool. And I will say that if you do the EYP training, after you finish, you have options to buy additional packages at a discount. So if you wanted to start with coaches and you wanted to work there and then go for the full training later, it's a good deal either way, however you do it. And so you get added to our community once you become an EYP facilitator. You get your information, your name, and your website put on our EYP database. Yeah, yoga for love and intimacy, yoga for trauma, yoga for marketing, yoga for the real things that we do in our lives. Yeah, trauma awareness and EYP. Really, the whole framework is trauma aware because that is what EYP is. And yeah, so lots of wonderful options on how you can use EYP in your life. And today is going to give you a taster of how EYP can affect your state here and now. And so that's what we're going to get into right now. And if you can't, and I will say, if you can't afford any of those courses that we just mentioned, but you do want to thank us for putting on this event, or if you have any feedback about this event, we would love it if you could send us an email to content@embodimentunlimited.com. That would give us a chance to hear from you guys and just hear some insight into what you appreciated about these masterclasses outside of the training or any of the additional stuff that we have going on right now. So without further ado, allow me to introduce our teacher for this session, Anouska Anderson. Anouska is a dancer and embodied yoga principles teacher. She is a longtime yogi, dancer, and climber. Anouska specializes in teaching yoga for dancers and climbers, along with pre- and postnatal yoga and injury recovery and management. So it's Anouska's job today to show us how EYP and the archetype of the warrior can be used in all these different modalities. And so Anouska, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello to everyone joining us live, everyone on the replay. So we're with Warrior, Live with Fierceness, or Learn to Kick Ass, however you kind of want to look at it. So firstly, Warrior is kind of one of those postures that are very familiar and kind of very visible in the yoga world. So kind of what does warrior pose mean to you? How does it make you feel? So if you want to pop that into the chat or into any of the feeds. So just one word. Yes, strong, strength, powerful. Honor, nice. So yeah, it's one of those things, yeah, power. So all of those things are quite energetic. So one of the things with EYP is everything we do in each of these sessions is always a choice. So if your energy level is at a 1, so if we say 1 is, this is kind of past my bedtime, I should kind of be resting at this point in time. To 10, let's stay up and watch the sunrise. If you're 5 and below, you might just want to watch. Anything above that, feel free to join in. For those of you who may be a bit like me, who can be a bit kind of like, oh, a bit tired, but then do something energetic that just kind of revives you, feel free to join in. The other thing is, if you find it triggers anything, please stop. You don't have to continue. just as if there's anything that you notice that's really interesting to you, feel free to, make notes on your own practice. So going back to warrior, yeah, it's strong, it's focused. I love this. Courage has come up. There's determination. I saw resilience pop up a little while ago as well. It's all of these things. But you can't be all of these things all of the time fighting. Determined cat in the background, yes, he is. Spock always likes to make an appearance. You're only going to hear him today. I'm not going to set him free because he'll disturb the class. So thinking about all of those things is, where in your life do you feel that you need to be kind of more warrior, more fierce, more determined, more resilient? Anywhere in your life, pop it into the chat. Personal aspects. I thought it was one of my cats. Yeah. Business. Supporting others. Yes. Yeah, more business. Sleep. Yes. Okay, so there's a kind of mixture of things. So kind of like work life, working with children, absolutely. So work life, personal life. Oh yeah, nice. Family boundaries, marriage, having pets, standing strong in all of life. Loving these coming through. Yeah, so as I was saying, there's a real mixture. So it's not about being fierce in one place or for one thing. So we look at how different parts of our life needs, different kinds of warrior. So you could be a really focused warrior. You can be a determined warrior. You can be a fierce warrior. You can be a resilient warrior. But all of these things are different depending on context. Yeah, tragic events, it's one of those things that you kind of, that's where the resilience of warrior comes in. And it's one of those, as I said, one of those positions that's very kind of seen in the yoga world. And there's very much a kind of idealistic, it must look like this. So one of the things I'm going to say to you today is, if anything is uncomfortable, so if you have any shoulder or knee injuries, find a way for you to get into the posture. You can do it seated, you can do it standing. So one of the things that I really love about warrior is that kind of feeling of strength, that feeling of resilience, holding your arms out for that long, takes resilience and is kind of a test of knowing when to stop as well, because that's the other thing. If we are too fierce for too long, all we do is drain, because that level of kind of like ness is kind of very, very draining on the body. And it's not something that's maintainable or sustainable over long periods of time. So other EYP sessions that have taken place, like rest pose, privacy pose, care pose, things like that, intermix. So we need to find a real balance between fierceness and kind of releasing. So thinking about things in life where you've realized that you've been kind of like for too long, and how you've kind of backed off, because kind of the idea of the warrior, kind of some of the principles of martial arts is not always to attack. Sometimes it's better to retreat and come back on another day. So thinking about those things. So we're gonna come into warrior, we're gonna come into the basic pose. So I'm gonna do it standing first, and then I'm gonna do a seated version. So for people standing, I'm just gonna move the chair out of the way. Brilliant. So we've got a nice strong base. So one foot facing forwards, the other foot facing side on. And from here, we're just going to bend the front knee. Now, normally yoga warrior, the knee is kind of here-ish. With EYP warrior, we're thinking more of coming forward. So we're really moving. We're also thinking about the body being over the hips. And then we're going to take the arms out. So just staying here for a moment. And then just noticing how that feels in your body. Is it familiar? Is it comfortable? Is it somewhere that you'd like to stay? And then we're going to talk a bit more about where the gaze goes. So just releasing that. For those of you who are seated, I'm just going to move the chair back. We can get to warrior in a similar way. So placing the foot down, extending the other foot, and we can take the arms out in just the same way. So you can experience the same thing seated. So for those of you sitting, we're just going to do the same thing. Is this familiar? Is it comfortable? Is it somewhere that you want to stay? Now I'm noticing some of my bad habits. So we're going to break those down in a moment and just releasing. And for everyone who's been moving, just have a shake out. Or if you haven't been moving, feel free to shake out as well. I'm going to move forwards again. So with that, how did it feel for you coming into warrior? Popping notes into the chat. Familiar. It felt like it took a lot of muscle. Yeah. I missed a couple of those. Sarah, can you see some of the others? I got warm. Yeah, fiery. Definitely feeling the warmth. Love it, familiar and homely. So yeah, a real mixture of things. So everyone seems to be really comfortable with warrior. Anyone not so comfortable? Empowering, nice. Anyone not so comfortable with warrior? Does anyone feel that it makes them feel a bit too or anyone feel that they're not kind of enough in it? So finding that point, that kind of neutral point of warrior. Once my front leg is centered, it's good. Yeah, and that's the thing, is finding that base place so that you have that stability. I like both feet facing forwards. So felt less effort because you're tired. Yeah, it's as I said, it's one of those poses. It does take a lot of energy. And it's one of those things where, you know, it's always good to do a rest pose afterwards. So something that brings you in smaller. Yeah, feels tiring today. And I don't know what time zones everyone's in, but it's like after 10, familiar but draining. Yeah. So it's after 10 here in the UK. I know some of you it's the afternoon. With the knee joints being scared, yeah, not distracting. So deep bend in front leg, taxing. I love it. I hope you enjoyed your lunch, Kimberly. So yeah, it's those things. And that's one of the reasons why we need to find a balance between warrior and our focus and how we get into it as well. So thinking about, we're going to talk about hands because I could see my thumbs doing weird things, and coming from a dance background, my hands do tend to like to do this a lot. And my most favorite pose is being seen. So basically, I like to spend my time like this. So one of the things thinking about is keeping the hands nice and strong, fingers together, when we're reaching out. The other thing is making sure that the shoulders are level and you're not dropping the back arm. It tends to be the one that drops, or lifting the front arm. And then thinking about gaze. This is not a smiley, happy pose, but it's also not an angry pose. So what you're wanting is focus, like proper focus. For people who watch rugby, if you don't watch rugby, I'm going to say the Rugby World Cup final, when England actually won the last time. If you watch that and you watch Johnny Wilkinson's last kick to score, have a look at that and have a look at the focus on his face, because that's what warrior is. It's a really direct, real focused look. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to move the chair out the way. So whether you're sitting or standing, I'm going to face front on this time. So I'm going to take the arms out, making sure that hands are not doing strange things. We're going to make sure that everything is level. And then we're going to gaze forwards with a determined but not angry face. Making sure that you're still breathing. And just noticing how that feels. And then gently coming out, shaking everything out. We're going to go, in the interest of being a yoga teacher and a dancer, we're going to do it on the other side. So taking the opposite foot forwards, taking the other foot back. So we're thinking about gaze, thinking about fingers. Even I have bad habits, and it's a good thing actually sometimes to do these looking in a mirror. So just finding how that feels. Just another couple of breaths here. And then we're going to release. Releasing, shaking it out. And then we're going to go, I'm going to go side on just to demonstrate. So, like everyone, I have a favourite side for doing things. So thinking about this and thinking about where the body is, so making sure that we've got none of this going on, because that's not really warrior-like. Thinking of the arms outstretched. Now, one of the things that you can do thought-wise is that apparently originally they would actually be holding swords. So you can imagine the weight that would go through here, so the strength that goes through the arms. So really stretching through and making sure that the head's directly looking in the direction that you're going towards. And then I'm going to do something a little bit sneaky, because warrior is not just about determination and focus. To whatever you're looking at, you're kind of quite narrow. But anyone who's looking kind of from your view at me, actually I'm quite big, which can bring you somewhere else. So warrior pose isn't just about being fierce, it's also about being seen, which can also be quite a difficult thing, because although front on you seem quite small, and from kind of like a martial arts and fighting point of view, you're a small target, but actually from the other side, you're actually quite big. And that was kind of the idea, to kind of put people off. So thinking about it in life, you want to be able to think about keeping big, focused, and narrow at the same time. So it's almost as if you're looking at all aspects of life in one pose. So thinking about doing it the second time, how did that make you feel? So some people might be getting a bit warm now. Yeah, it felt better to do it again. More energy, felt rooted and focused. Yeah. So as we begin to build warrior for sure, yes. Feeling that kind of, getting more comfortable. And this is the thing, this is one of the great things actually about EYP. So you can find a position, find a posture, like we're doing today with warrior at this time, and you find what kind of state of being it makes you feel. Whether it makes you feel comfortable or uncomfortable, whether it feels familiar or unfamiliar. And then we go further into it on whether you need more or less in your life. Directional and grounded and focused, lovely. So thinking about that, do you feel that you need to be more warrior or less warrior in life? And is there a particular part of your life that kind of accounts for? So I know for me, when I am climbing outside or mountaineering, I need to be more warrior because I have fear of heights. And yes, I do go and climb up high things just because they're there. That is my only answer for that. And this is something that really helps. It's something that I've worked with. I found that other people who climb also climb things because they're frightened of heights. And it's something that can help you kind of ground yourself before you kind of go up. So thinking about that, where else in your life do you think you need to be more? Let's start with, where do you think you need to be more warrior? During martial arts practice. I'd love to practice with you because that sounds awesome.
Anouska, I'll share something
Yeah.
that someone said in the live stream comments, that doing it and hearing you talk through it gave a sense of strength, more like achievement. And so that feeling that you get when you achieve something is what they said they felt.
Yeah. Yeah, warrior can actually be really good for finding that kind of feeling of achievement, feeling of, yes, that I have got here. But there's also that feeling of, wow, this is actually quite hard as well. But the satisfaction of knowing that you're doing something that's quite hard and that you're achieving it really does make a difference on how you feel about it. And as I was saying about repetition in EYP is great. So you found a posture and you got your favorite posture, and that feels really good, really familiar, and you're just like, I am super comfortable. And then you come across a posture that is not so familiar, not so comfortable, and is a bit more of a challenge. And then you look at how and where in your life that can affect. Or it could be, I'm thinking about warrior and climbing, this feels great. I feel about warrior and work and think, this feels like a drain. So there are different ways of having a posture that you really love, but when you start digging deeper and deeper down into those layers, that you actually find that there are different emotions and different feelings about how each of those areas feel for you. So one of the things that I work with, particularly with people who are injured, looking at warrior, not necessarily standing, because a lot of injuries are knee injuries, and warrior standing becomes very difficult, is how you get that focus that would have taken you up that mountain, or got you through that audition, or got you through that performance, finding that focus and how you can use that focus on your rehab, because that can be really, really difficult. You know, when you're told that you can't do something for 3 months because you need time and energy to actually focus on recovery. So I found that it's really good on refocusing onto that and why that's important, rather than focusing on, I want to be doing the other thing. So it works in so many different ways, so many different levels. You can find, so I saw a few people just like, here, I probably need to be a bit more warrior in my own business. So let's address that. So with all of the poses, there's kind of like things that we can add or take away to make a pose a bit more either grr or a bit less oof. So for those of you who kind of think I need more because I'm not really warrior in this, we're going to do my favorite, fuck you warrior. So coming into your warrior position, making sure that everything is feeling fierce, either sitting down, standing, finding that warrior point. That front palm is going to turn up and we're going to get the finger. Brilliant. How does that feel? How does that actually make you feel? That A, someone said to you, you can do this in a class. And B, how does it just feel to actually go, yeah, I can just go, nah. And coming out, shaking it out, shaking it out. So how's that feeling on a, for those who particularly like, I'm not so warrior in that. That's a way of kind of getting into that and kind of going, oh, grr. And actually it's fine to be like that, because sometimes as well, particularly as females, you kind of like, if you're a bit warrior, you're kind of an angry woman. Not at all. Out of character? Yeah. I knew it. I felt this coming. Love it. Yeah. Yeah, anyone who's done class with me knows that that's probably going to turn up. And anyone who knows how I kind of live my life, that's kind of it. So then we have the opposite side of that coin, where for, yeah, good for boundaries. That is a real good one for boundary setting. If you need to kind of be more warrior in boundary setting, so that could be at work, at home, with your children, with your spouse, partner, friends, with your time, you know, being able to say no, you know, not just no pose. There are other poses that can help enforce no pose. So thinking about it in those ways. So we've got the people who needed a bit more, or occasionally just need a bit more. And then there are people who are really high, who need to kind of bring it down. So we're going to come back into warrior. So coming back in, and then we're just going to turn the palm up. So turning the palm up, it kind of stops the death stare, if you're giving people the death stare. And it also kind of, it's a time to reflect, almost looking into your hand. So rather than kind of being angry, it kind of takes that away. And we can let that one go. So that one probably didn't feel quite as, and sometimes we don't need that much of that. So there are so many different variations, and we don't always have to be as big either. There are smaller variations. So just the idea of the focus of warrior can get you into that kind of mental place. Once it becomes familiar as a position, you take that focus, you understand what that focus is. You could be about to go into an interview, you could be about to go onto a stage, you could be about to make an announcement. Yeah, come here, I'm in charge. I like that. Do you need to be kind of more or less of that? It depends on your audience. If you're talking to children, you don't want to be angry warrior. You don't want to be FU warrior. You want to be a calmer warrior. If you're going into a board meeting, you might want to ramp it up a bit, depending on what they're up to. So there's all of these things that you can kind of take into consideration in your life. And the other thoughts of how other poses sneak in. So you may feel that don't like being seen. Actually, it's not far off of this. And actually the same amount of you. So if we come into being seen, so reaching out into being seen, and we just rotate the foot and come down, actually, there is as much of you facing. Yeah. So you get that kind of, actually, that's all right. So if you've got clients who like being seen, but kind of are not so keen on being warrior, start them here, get them to relax to there. So it doesn't feel like it's so kind of foreign, because it's coming from a place of enjoyment and knowingness to something that's not so comfortable, and that ease of doing that. And yes, I've just seen someone do one of my other favorite things. So in yoga, it's known as kind of reverse warrior or peaceful warrior, but also kind of, yeah, this feels nice, this feels good, and I know this. So focusing upwards and really enjoying that. And coming down, shaking the arms out. And we're going to go the other way, just in the interest of keeping it all balanced. And you may find actually that it's more comfortable on one side than the other. So again, turning that palm up, lifting up, reaching back. And still looking up. So kind of like an inspirational warrior. And we come back. And if you're thinking about focus again, thinking about if you've got a project and you really want to, someone's got a project on, they really want to focus. So kind of taking it into bow and arrow. So you've got your, and you know, so you can either flat or clenched. It depends on how your kind of fingers feel on this one. You are absolutely focused on your target. So finding that real nice spot of, yeah. So yeah, I can see some experimenting going on with fingers and how it feels in different ways, and finding that focus, so that direction, because sometimes that's all we need. It gives us that little breathing space. And shaking everything out. Yeah, hand positions can really make a real difference, which is why, you know, when you first go into the pose, making sure that those hands really are, you know, doing what they're supposed to do. And it's one of the things as well when you come to micro poses. So I've talked about the gaze and how you can find that focus and bring that focus automatically kind of to the upper body. So you're kind of direct. The hands, no one's really going to notice what your hands are doing unless they're doing kind of jazz hands. But that thought of that down by your side, no one is going to pay attention. And it's how you find those micro postures that are a trigger for you. Because what's a great trigger for me may not necessarily be a great trigger for you, but finding those small places that where you can find it in your body without having to do the really expansive. I know that I have done this on mountains and my friends have thought it was hilarious, but you don't necessarily want to be doing this all the time. So finding those micro poses, particularly if it's a point in your day or in your life where you need to save that energy as well. Because as you're probably all noticing, you're all getting a little warm, yes? Yeah. So it does build heat. So yeah, any questions on that? So obviously I know I've talked quite a bit actually about coaching. In a yoga class for the yoga teachers who are watching, just kind of, you know, changing the focus, changing the direction of how people go into it, make it something really kind of more more grounded and more kind of not the, this is what the yoga teacher said, this is warrior. Is it really? Do you feel warrior-like when you're in it? Ask them. And ask them what would make them feel more warrior-like. Do they need to, you know, put some more energy through the arms? Do they need to bend the knee more? Do they need to shift their weight? Because often you will find people in class. So instead of being here, they're like this. So they're reaching. So you're wanting them to be here because this is the most stable point. Hips coming straight down, space between the legs. You're really quite balanced here. Once you start taking heads or bodies in different places, particularly if you're not a dancer, you're going to come off balance. So you want people to feel really strong in those positions, but you also don't want them to be totally uncomfortable, because I know there's this whole thing, there must be a 90-degree angle. There needs to be an angle that's safe for the knee, you know, is my big thing when teaching. It shouldn't be about this mythical, perfect posture. It's about finding the posture, finding the safe point in the posture. So if you practice it kind of on an EYP style, I kind of missed that one. If you're teaching it on an EYP kind of basis, it's going to be safe, because this is not about being athletic, being bendy or any of those things. It's about how any body can actually find this space, which is really what yoga kind of should be, but kind of mainly isn't these days.
Yeah, Anouska, we got a question here from YouTube or the live stream. What are some of the different ways people can get this wrong? You said mistakes, backwards or forwards. What's that mean?
Yeah, so you've got the body positioning, body straight down. So we get the head going forward, so people actually kind of doing the chicken thing. So head coming forward, not comfortable at all, because you get a lot of tension in the shoulders. Then you've got, if I turn this way, I'm very bendy, so you get the ribs flying up. So then you're kind of putting pressure on the lower back. You're also not particularly balanced like that, and that can put a lot of pressure in the hip and torque in the knee. So those are things to be watching out for. The other thing is kind of hands and the arms. So the arms should be level and flat. And this is super important if you have people in class. This bit's mainly for yoga teachers, but coaches may come across this. There are people whose arms, when very extended, are not actually straight. So they're kind of bentish. I'm not going to super extend mine because it actually hurts to do that. So if you have people with hypermobility or EDS, getting them, although this sounds strange because I'm like, it must be strong, getting them to soften, finding that straight point, and then putting the energy through without over rolling on the joint, because you don't want to be locking the joint out. Same thing with legs. When we do forward bends, you always tell people to keep the knees soft, but there's that real activity going on in the legs. You think about the same thing in the arms. Same thing with the hands. As I said, I've got a bad habit, so I have to remind myself, keep them together, because I like to be like that. And you know, that's a habit that I have. And also making sure that quite often people, probably can't see because the chair's in the way, is making sure that this knee is happy. So a lot of people will teach it with this turning in. It can put a lot of strain either way. So it's finding those safe points and making sure the gaze as well, because if I'm doing warrior and I'm like, that's not really very warrior. Just as you don't want people being angry in warrior. You want them to find that focus, but it shouldn't be about anger or feeling so kind of that actually you're just putting tension through the body, because you don't get the same effect. So hopefully that answers that one.
I also just wanted to pop in and mention, you said with the reverse warrior, the peaceful warrior,
Yeah.
the inspirational warrior, I taught transcendence pose, and I didn't mention this in my class about bringing transcendence into warrior, but I wanted to, and I thought that was exactly what it is that transcendence is yang, just like warrior is, and that direction, moving it, the gaze from here to here with the reaching and the active hands that you've been talking about. I love that variation. And
I love that kind of thing, that actually you can get kind of a bit of a mixture of poses within one pose just by changing one thing. You know, it's a really interesting thing with the whole sequence of the poses, and how actually some of them kind of mirror each other in such beautiful ways, like looking at warrior and being seen as completely different poses. But actually, if anyone struggles with one or the other, it's very easy to then say to somebody, actually, you're kind of exposed in this one, or, well, you're only changing your focus on this. You've still got that same strength and that same energy running. And it becomes more accessible that way. So when something's difficult to access, as I was saying in my last session that I taught, I had real difficulty with vulnerability pose, and I think that comes from my competitive background, from dance, gymnastics, climbing, and all of those things. That vulnerability is not something that you put on show. So for me to really get to actually be able to enjoy that position, I used to mix it up with being seen and warrior. So I put it in the middle so that it would remind me of what feels good, although the energy levels are completely different, what feels really nice within the body, so that I could connect that eventually to vulnerability.
that's another about combining poses. Another live stream question is, so you can bring warrior into other poses. So about this mixing them, overlapping. Can you speak more about that? How to bring them? Why would you bring two together, perhaps?
So as I was saying, if people are struggling with something that's kind of similar, so that whole thing of somebody has to go, so bye, and thank you for coming. So yeah, if you struggle with being seen, but you really enjoy, you know that your client really enjoys warrior, actually just bringing them from here to here stops it about being seen straight off. So that negative kind of connotation, so you've got them here and then you've asked them to come to here, it's a very slight change. It's not like coming from here and then saying to someone to come to here, or coming from here and saying come to there. It's a smaller switch, and sometimes that can be easier, and people can kind of go, oh, I kind of see what you mean, that there is some connection to that. But the other thing is also linking to, you don't want to be doing very kind of yang energetic poses all of the time. So, from here, actually, you can come into privacy and just take the feet in. You can come from here, you can kind of give yourself a hug, and look after yourself. So there are so many ways to just either help people transition, but also to get people to relax down and control their energy levels, so that you don't, while you're teaching or while you're working with somebody, that you're not kind of expending everything. So if they're needing something that's more energetic, making sure that they have those things, that they can bring it down and find those restful places. Just as if people need to come down, allow them to have that out time, because that's the thing that they really know, and then allow them to work out how to get from here to here and have a similar kind of grounded feeling about it, rather than, oh, this is a bit uncomfortable. And it can take time, and that's a great thing, because it is a posture that you can use as homework. So you can say to a client, well, actually, here's 3 or 4 postures for you to practice over the next few weeks, from a coaching point of view. And just like if you're teaching in a yoga class, as we kept doing it, people were like, actually, this is becoming more comfortable. I'm not feeling quite so about it. The more it becomes familiar, the more people can actually begin to get that actual state that you're kind of looking for them to get in the position.
Another live stream question. When is a good time to use warrior in a group class? Like, just start it in the middle to end?
I probably wouldn't use it to end because it is kind of quite up and quite energetic. It depends on how you like to kind of feed the energetics of your class. I like to build to it. So I might come into it gently at the beginning. So we stay maybe for a breath and we come out of it. But as we come further into the class, we begin to actually really find that warrior place. So we spend maybe 3 breaths, maybe coming up to 10 breaths, and then bringing it back down. So that's how I like to play with it.
Yeah, Steve also just mentioned there's guidance on class design in the teacher training as well.
Which is great. I've done the course. I highly recommend it. Really interesting, really gives you some insight on, for yoga teachers, kind of, if you think about yoga teachers like to live with the past. And if you think about yoga is usually designed to be taught one-on-one for what the person in front of you needed. And EYP kind of is that, but not with the kind of, you need to be bendy or athletic. It kind of works on a similar level. So thinking about it in that way is really great for one-on-one teaching. Really, really works well, but also really works well in a group class. A really nice way for people to connect. You can get people to chat to each other on how they felt, but make sure you keep it short, because you don't want people overthinking things. So, give them like 30 seconds to quickly go, these were the 3 things that I felt doing it, and that's it. So that they get their initial thoughts and not try to make it into something it might not actually be.
Partner work with warrior is wonderful as well. Putting that warrior like
fun
is really, really interesting.
And having warrior offs who can stay, it's a really interesting, where is that focus? Bit like plank off, but warrior off. I like it.
Competition isn't spiritual.
It is if you're trying to find focus,
which is
not be distracted. Yeah,
right.
So because people will try and put you off, but if you're totally focused, that won't actually matter. So that's where the kind of, it's competitive but not. It's about how you kind of find your path in it.
Yeah,
but also great fun.
Yeah, beautiful. I'll segue that into more about the training, because that's exactly what the EYP teacher training offers people, is a way. I mean, I love seeing all the different ways people use this with one-on-one or getting creative with groups. The insight that you've gotten from this one class, like change can happen so quickly within ourselves, and like what would you do to help others find this change too. And so that's why we become embodied yoga practitioners. And I'll say a couple more words about the training. Anouska, we'll come back to you at the end, but I want everyone to put in the chat now, what did you take away from this session? What did you like about this session? Maybe you had an insight, maybe you had something confirmed in yourself, or maybe just type in the chat something that you liked, something that stuck out to you. And as you do that, also think of a friend who really needs this stuff, and think of someone who needs it and would thank you for it. If you can thank yourself for coming to this class today, then maybe someone would thank you for sharing this with them. So please, these recordings, the masterclass recordings, are available all weekend long, so you have plenty of time to share and watch more. Someone's saying, oh, stronger than you think. That's a great insight to have during a warrior class for sure. Help me find calm and sense of focus. Awesome. And now Steve has a little video we're going to share about our EYP trainings. So here's a little more info about all the ways EYP can be used in your practice.
If you're a coach that's looking for a deeper approach to working with your clients, then this will be the course for you. And what the EYP course for coaches has to offer you is a way to shift things from getting stuck in the head and getting into the body, and really revealing some deeper psychological layers of what might be happening, what's triggering your client to maybe not make the progress that you want them to make, maybe even helping them with boundaries, or where they're lacking in leadership, or where they need more leadership. And so what the EYP system does is it uses very simple forms. You don't have to have any sort of physical background. It's non-athletic. These very simple forms can be done in normal clothing, in any setting, anywhere, and you can then begin to look at the patterns that might be keeping your clients stuck. As a coach, I use this mostly with my clients with intimacy and relationship and communication, and as soon as I get them to move from the cerebral part of the conversation and getting them down and into their body, boom, immediately they have things that they can take away.
Yeah, have more self-belief and see yourself as you see other people, because I have a very critical eye at the moment.
You also have a whole range of tools to help them change state, build range. Maybe you have a client who isn't so great at being seen, taking up space in the sphere that they're working in. So you have some tools to help them to begin building that range, to begin anchoring it into their body. It also is great homework for your client, prescribing these as homework that they can do in their own time. You don't have to have any experience of working with the body. You're going to get very detailed videos of how to set up each of the 26 forms. You'll have lots of examples as well of how you can incorporate this into coaching and different coaching scenarios and environments. So when you sign up, you're not going to be left alone with this. There's plenty of support available to you. We have a private Facebook group that you are welcome to join. We have monthly Q&A calls, and on those calls, that's where you really get to know the community, so you get a lot of ideas of how other people are using the same things.
Getting comfortable making an offer. It's like overwhelming me a bit.
Miles coming in now, your eyes are changing, huh?
What this program offers you is an arsenal of embodied tools. You'll also have concrete examples of how you can begin seamlessly incorporating this into your existing coaching practice.
I'm going to say it again. Every time I watch that video, I think about how much EYP has changed my life for the better, and how this community just keeps growing, and the ways EYP, like Jamie said in that video, it builds range. And that's what we're doing as practitioners, is we're building range in our toolkits and the ways that we can approach helping people in our classes. From YouTube, someone says it was so cool to be reflected by the instructor. Oh, cool. in the hand position varying and interlinking. I'm just going to get these comments since they're coming in from YouTube. Hand variation, interlinking with other postures. Wonderful class again. Thank you very much, Anouska. Brilliant. Good, good. And in these classes, since they're totally free, these master classes, if you would like, if you have feedback, so that person who said that, please email again, content, at embodimentunlimited.com. We would love to get some feedback on these classes. But if you buy any of the packages, the EYP for personal growth or personal use, EYP for coaches, or the Embodied Yoga Principles teacher training, these master classes all week long are included in those packages. So you can keep them forever, but they will be available for free throughout the weekend as well. So thank you again, everyone, for joining this session on Warrior. Anouska, do you have any final tips, either about EYP or Warrior for people, Warrior pose in their lives in general? Top tips for us.
Top tips for Warrior is really just going for it, really finding it, not being afraid of it, and not being afraid of how warrior you can be. And for EYP, try more. Go back, and if there's ones that you've missed, have a look, because you probably heard us speak about different postures this evening. Go back and have a look at some of those, because they're absolutely great, particularly as we've been quite fiery tonight. I think, you can find one of the others to kind of bring it back down.
Perfect. And speaking of which, the next class is self-care pose. So the next live class is coming up. It's actually 2 a.m. BST, but that is going to be 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Self-care, led by Patricia Aguirre, the fabulous EYP teacher, coming in for a little self-love for those of us who need to take care of ourselves at the end of this fabulous week. So thank you, everyone, again, and I hope to see you at the next session. I'll be there. It's a wonderful way to finish up the week. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you so much for being here. Happy warrioring.
And I'll say, look out as well. There's going to be an email. We might have a couple bonus classes tomorrow in case you want it for coaches and yoga teachers. So look out for an email tomorrow.
Bonus. Thank you, Rosa. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Anouska. Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, everyone.